What if? On Monday the 30th of June 2014, there was a serious accident on one of our construction sites which happened to our colleagues Joseph Pavlicek and Joseph Setek. In this video we will analyse what exactly happened on that day and how we could prevent such accidents in the future.
Hi, my name is Josef Pavlicek and I am a site manager with PM Group in Czech Republic.
Hi, my name is Josef Setek and I am a project manager with PM Group in the Czech Republic. Currently, I am responsible for the new civil works, part of a new administrative project, Waltrówka Aviatika in Prague. On the 30th of June 2014, I and my colleague Josef Pavlicek were involved in a serious accident on the construction site.
I was working with my colleague Josef on the project Waltrówka Aviatika in Prague in Czech Republic, and I was also involved in that terrible accident.
Tell us about what you were doing prior to the accident.
The day of the accident, my colleague Josef and I were undertaking a thorough site inspection, something that we did every day. We started our inspection at the perimeter of the building, continued through the 2 underground floors, finishing with an inspection of the reinforced concrete frame at all levels. Part of the inspection comprised a detailed review of the construction joints between the stair walls and the concrete slab to ensure a good continuity through the joint. The quality of this construction joint was critical due to high quality finish to be installed afterwards. We discussed this issue with the contractor in the stairwell, and it was the very same stairwell that the accident happened, just 1 floor above.
Let us explain how this specific stairwell was constructed. You might imagine a well surrounded by 3 or 4 walls. Well, this one was different. It is an open stairwell with just 1 wall supporting the stair flights. While constructing the floor slab, decking was placed in the location of the stair opening, but the rebar and concrete was not installed there. The decking was used as a working platform to install reinforcement and formwork for the only wall surrounding the stairwell. It was designed to be a stable and secure structure until you start removing the decking and reducing the props. This operation is usually done 2 to 3 weeks after the floor slab concrete is placed. What happened next?
Well, to carry out the detailed inspection of the construction joint at the stairwell, I was the first one to step on the decking. I don't remember much of my fall, just a horrific noise, and losing my helmet during the fall. Luckily, I instinctively got hold of a timber girder that had been placed over the opening and managed to get onto the floor below where I had started to fall. At first, I was not sure what happened. I felt warmth on top of my head and realized that I was bleeding. Time seemed to pass really quickly and I was getting angry that no one was coming to help me, not even my colleague. Eventually, I stood up and went to the opening to have a look at what happened. Only then I realized that another floor below me, Josef was laying on his back.
Josef, what are your memories of the day of the accident?
Immediately after I stepped on that temporary floor, part of the floor collapsed and I fell 2 stories, a height of almost 7.5 meters. In the split second that it happened, there was nothing I could do. The only thought on my mind was, it's all over. When I gathered myself together, I could not feel a single part of my body. All that I could manage was a blink of my eyes. It took a little while before I started to feel any sensation, and then I realized that I could not move. After the emergency service came, I was taken to the hospital. I was fully cautious and remember almost everything, including the fall. When the doctor in the emergency department told me that my main injury was a fragmentation fracture of pelvis, I was absolutely terrified. I wasn't sure exactly what it meant, but the immediate question that it occurred to me was, will I be able to walk again?
It was at exactly this time stage that the incident happened. The contractor started to remove the floor decking, which comprises of loosening the props, removing the girders, and removing the plywood decking. The plywood is usually stuck to the concrete, so from the top view you cannot tell whether the decking is stable or not. You purely rely on someone to secure the opening by other means of protection prior to releasing the props and removing the girders. This did not happen, and the opening was left unsecured at the ground floor level. That sounds terrifying. Joseph, how did you feel when you saw your colleague lying there?
During that horrific view, I felt hopeless. I was glad that Joseph was responding to my questions, although he seemed to be in pain and his voice was low. The emergency rescue team with police and ambulance arrived on site within 15 minutes of the accident. Joseph and I were taken to the emergency room, where I underwent several x-rays of my limbs and back. I had a bad cut on top of my head, for which I received 5 stitches. Headache and arm bruises were hurting the most.
Please describe for us the physical consequences of the accident for you.
Due to the impact of the fall, the femoral head got driven through the acetabulum, which seriously influenced the treatment, recovery, and mainly possible long-term complications. In addition to fracturing my pelvis, I had broken 3 ribs and had massive internal bleeding in the area of my left hip, stomach, and lower back. The day after the accident, I underwent a complex operation and for a further week remained in the intensive care unit, connected to monitoring equipment. The operation aimed to fix and stabilize my pelvis and acetabulum using fixation plate and screws. Fortunately, in the yearly period of the treatment, I was lucky to go through without any serious complications. However, in the long term, one of the common problems is the development of hip arthritis, which can result in a hip replacement, although I'm keeping myself positive. One of the main consequences of the injury was that I could not walk for about 4 months. Effectively, I could not put any weight on my left leg the first 2 months. After that, I was allowed to gradually increase the weight to 25 kilos the 3rd month and 45 kilos the 4th month. The only possible way to move around in this period was with scratches. After the 4th month, I should be ready to start to walk again. With similar injuries, most people can fully recover within 5 to 6 months and are able to resume recreational activities at that time. In total, I spent 12 days in the intensive care unit, 18 days in the hospital overall, and 8 weeks in the rehabilitation institute after I was discharged from the hospital. Overall, I will be 4 to 5 months out of work. Currently, I'm still out of work, but I'm hoping to return to work very soon. However, I will be unable to return to my position as site manager on that project for at least another 2 months.
So you were badly hurt, but I guess it could have been worse.
Definitely. My injuries could have been a lot more serious. You only have to look at what happened to my colleague. Only later, when I was leaving the emergency room, did I start to realize how lucky I had been and what consequences of being more seriously injured could have been for me and my family. At that time, I had a 6-week-old baby and a 2-year-old at home. Both girls. Wife on maternity leave. Mortgage on the house to be paid. Basically, the whole family is dependent on me. Although baptized, but not regularly attending the Mass, my first steps led me to a nearby church, coincidentally named after St. Joseph.
How has the accident impacted on your family, friends and colleagues?
The way in which my family and friends have supported me has been excellent. I could not wish for anything more. They have put aside all their commitments and concentrated just on me. For the first month, they visited me every single day, even though some of them had to travel for nearly 2.5 hours. We discussed the accident and the consequences, and I was surprised how it also affected them. Not only that they had to take time out of work, but also to realize what is really important in life and how in a moment everything can be tragically changed.
What lessons do you think can be learned from this incident?
For me, the lessons are about being fully in control of the works. We agree safe methods of all the works that happen on our site, but it is essential that the contractors comply with those agreed safe systems of work. In this case, the works were not undertaken by the contractor in the sequence that had been agreed. For me, the accident also highlighted the importance of a good communication and coordination between contractors and our site team. The propping to the underside of the decking had been removed without anyone on our site team being told, and this created an unsafe condition that led directly to our accident.
There are many lessons that can be learned from what happened, but I would like to mention the following. First of all, to start with the design and the design risk assessment. Where possible, designers need to eliminate the situations that make these kind of temporary flaws and decking necessary. That way, the hazard never arises on the construction site. Even if they can't be fully eliminated, they can be reduced. Nevertheless, the main lesson is about the need for physical controls around activities like the ones that were happening where I fell. If there had been hard barriers to prevent entry and warning signs in place, I would never have entered that area and so would not have fallen. Someone had asked me, would I ever again step on a similar decking? Honestly, now I cannot say for sure. But what I'm sure is that I will always have my eyes and mind fully open and try to predict almost anything. Nothing is more important than a human life, nor your life. At the end, let me just say how lucky I feel that I can be here with you and share this with you. Hopefully, we all can learn from this.
What if? Both of our colleagues featured in this film survived what could easily have been a fatal accident. Their testimony illustrates how the potential for catastrophe is created when approved safe systems of work are not followed and people engage in unsafe behaviours. This is why PM Group puts communication, coordination and compliance at the heart of our safety management system. By each of us individually doing our part to promote safety, we are helping to prevent accidents like the one in this film.